the center of the board. So g2, g3 might be induced, but knight e4, knight f3 to e5 has to be considered. g2, g3, normal move. Let's just put another move on the board, knight c4, and then I really like this idea of knight f4, posting up, bringing more pieces, more and more pieces over here to the king side. Ideas of knight takes d5 and capturing this knight on c4 pop up in the position for white. Oops.
And I think that one is even more intuitive, so I think that Irina might go for that line.
Yeah, so...
I mean, easier to find. The knight e5 one's a little bit more unusual. You have to, like, look for some tactics.
Right. So, again, after this position, bishop c7,
Queen
bishop
after
d4,
queen to e6, Irina's thinking.
knight e4,
Meanwhile, we won't go back to... Queens have been traded in the Kamsky-Varuzhin-Jacobian game.
Oh, right. Let's see. It's not a thrilling game going on in the first tiebreak game.
Actually, kind of a sad performance by Jacobian because he's white, and it looks like now he's like kind of playing black, right?
Yeah, he sees the defensive, and it looks like he's hanging on.
Yes, there's just not enough weaknesses. We talk about the principle of two weaknesses. This looks like it's going to be a draw, this game.
Exactly. And white to play, white is likely to just bring his king over to d1 and then just start trading lots of pieces on the c file.
And the tension mounts in the U.S. Chess Championship as this game is a draw. Kamsky playing white. What do you think he would play with the white pieces? What opening do you think he would choose?
This silly London system.
You think he'll just do
yeah,
that?
what he was successful with Josh Friedel. He just likes slow, steady games, and he's really, really good at jumping on his opponent on a very, very simple slip. Little things is all
a good choice
you
in
need.
rapid for sure. Although he can also play e4. You never know. You think that's quite unlikely in rapid. I mean, he has won a very nice game against Varuzhin-Jacobian in the French before.
Yes, indeed. Gata does like playing against both the French as well as the Caro-Kann, two favorite defenses by VAR.
That's
so
right.
You're right. E4 is a very reasonable choice, and you'll be excited because he's an E4 game. Yay.
And probably Tatev will 100% play e4.
Sure.
I think that you guys are jumping the gun a little bit here. Look at the clock situation, guys. It's 6:47 to 11:09. Kamsky's the one with a time advantage. I think he's playing for a win in this position. This is no risk at all. He's equalized. It's clear for him that there's no problems whatsoever. Black is trying to win. Varuzhin is the one who's going to have to make a draw here, and he's down to 5 minutes on the clock. He's going to have to make some precise moves to save himself. Well, okay, it's still a draw. Let me not overstate that. But he is definitely not stopping here. I think Kamsky thinks, if I can win this game with the advantage that I have, the match is over. The match is over. So he will press Varuzhin here. Stronger player with extra time on the clock. You've got to like what Black is doing in this game, and it looks as though he's trying to prove himself in this position. Despite the near equality, Kamsky has been known to win positions like this before. So let's see if he can put some pressure on his opponent. In the other game, Tatev Abrahamian is definitely trying to prove herself as well, but it looks as though this bishop on d4 is a very solid defensive piece, and it's not so easy to get the attack going in the game. So we'll see what happens in that game, guys.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like Tatev Abrahamian did play queen to h6 after rook on f to e1. So instead of your knight d3 move, Irina just played rook e1, and now after queen h6, she has played g3.
Right.
And how do you think that Tatev increases her attack here?
Well, I really didn't like this move. Rook f1 to e1 is all.
You don't think it does anything?
No, because you're just always allowing these types of sacrifices. You know.
Oh yeah, good point. You're actually kind of allowing even the possibility right now.
Exactly.
It's probably not sufficient right now because maybe you can just play bishop takes allows queen takes h2 followed by queen takes g3, which doesn't really look very much fun.
Right. You could also play bishop takes g3 check and snap off this rook on e1.
So instead, maybe taking with the king, and then seeing after queen takes h2 whether we can just defend this more bravely. You're trying to come in for queen takes g3, but what if I just play rook g1? Do you have an effective rover here?
Well,
I don't see, because it looks like I'm covering all the key squares.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that these types of attack
are no fun to have to calculate at a rapid.
Right.
I'm betting she does it. That's my bet.
Well,
I think she's sacking on f2.
She actually hasn't. She's started with rook to e6. So So she
Wow.
hasn't played.
You can see, did you see that smirk, that sly smile on her face? She's looking to capture on F2. It's in her head, and she's now just bringing the rook up to do the little bit extra as she turns in the screws. Irina better watch out because she's up against a dangerous tactician, and I think Abrahamian has played masterfully down a pawn and just saying, whatever, let's play. She just glanced at the clock. She's saying, let's just keep this game going. Don't trade anything off. Let her consolidate. I'm going for the win. I'm impressed by how she's handled herself.
I like it. I mean, I honestly think that she just sees game 25 as ultimately going to end in a 5-minute game. I don't think she sees this massive difference between game 25 and 5. She sees, I mean, that sounds oversimplified, but I think she's thinking that eventually it's going to be a 5-minute game anyway, so why not seize activity?
Right.
And that is her reason for earlier sacking the pawn.
Right, but this attack by black looks, I mean, okay, sometimes the crude caveman attack finds its mark, but it does strike me as a little bit
like
too...
knight takes F2 immediately.
Yeah,
well, Irina's played the move knight to H4, and,
right,
and Tatev quickly responded with bishop H3. Obviously, she's not excited about trading, but now maybe Irina's rookie one will shed some light on it, and she'll be able to play bishop to F1.
Right, bishop F1.
Trying to say, insist on trades, rather.
I wouldn't do that myself. I'm sitting there saying to myself, I like your bishop on H3. Why do I like your bishop on H3? Because your queen's not going to go to H3. So maybe now's the time to, okay, very, very dangerous would be to play the move queen A4. That might allow black too much of a free hand on the king side. I'm thinking that she should just play the move knight D3 with the idea of playing knight F4, trying to force trades, or at least to induce you, the attacker, in this case black, to play the move G7, G5, and after knight G2. Black still has a lot to prove here.
Well, yeah, once you get that knight to D3, knight takes F2 ideas are kind of off the menu. Otherwise,
absolutely.
Otherwise, we're just like constantly calculating it, you know?
Right.
Like but even in a position where we have to give up a lot of our good pieces, like we can look at it.
Ah, I did it wrong again.
So but she had played bishop to F1.
Oh, so queen H4, G3,
and
rook
E6.
E6.
Tatev instantly, she was ready for this move. She's a little bit behind on the clock, so she's trying to catch up. 7 minutes for Irina, a little over 5 for Tatev. And she's played bishop takes F1.
Okay,
and of course we're expecting Irina recapture with the rook rather than leave the pawn on H2 a little loosey.
Mm-hmm.
And now...
And she has captured, and it's got to be G5. There's just no other choice for black.
And black has instantly played G5.
It's force majeure, as they say. So her idea, remember I said, I don't like to allow that queen to come to H3, so I like black having the bishop on H3. So G5, and in case of knight F3, knight G2 is the alternative, knight F5, we're going to see queen H3 and the rook coming over. And that's scary.
That's not fun to defend.
That is very scary.
In a quick game at all.
No, I don't think Irina's going to be
of
happy
course,
about
like
that.
G4, you can play knight H4 in some positions, but rook takes H4, pawn takes H4, and remember there's also a bishop on B8.
Yes.
So
yes.
Irina's going to have to come up with a defensive concept quickly.
F5, guys. Remember her queen's on C2, so she can guard the H2 square with some kind of push. So this has to be done. She can always put her knight on D6 in this position.
Okay, knight on D6.
She could even play F3, actually, because her queen is ready to come over and defend the position. And she has played knight to F5.
She has played knight F5.
So this had to be done. She has to include her queen in the defense and look to play this move F3 or maybe knight to D6, returning the pawn at some point. But you got to admit, Tatev has shown that she can get some counterplay. And guess what? This one is going to go down to the wire. And she has played this move, and wow, they followed the line F3 instantly by crush.
So we've guessed the player's moves, and now what Irina is saying is, please take my knight. If you take my knight, I'll recapture, and if we have a queen trade, well, guess what? At the end of the day, you're going to have regrets that you played the move G5
and
because
all
I'll
of these
play
moves
rook
are
F.
on the board. Tatev has retreated and played queen takes C4.
Wow.
And now Irina on move. She hasn't recaptured the queen yet. So it looks like we have two endgames.
So we
trade, does she? Well, does she have to play queen takes queen? She could keep the queens on. Black's attack is gone now. Maybe queen F2 is on the board. Is potentially on the board as well.
Although black also, queen f2 threatens f7. We do have to watch out for knight b3, which would take that beautiful bishop off the board. But queen f2 immediately threatening f7, and that's exactly what Irina is thinking about now. Does she want to throw in that move and play the middle game?
The pawn, we should note, the pawn is no longer an advantage, right? There's no pawn advantage for white.
White returned the pawn, that's right.
So Crush has lost her pawn advantage, and the time so very close. That one's going to go down to a blitz. Guys, we should know the other game. Kamsky is up 6 minutes on the clock. Varuzhin is down to 2 minutes and change in his game. So Kamsky needs to just make a couple of moves. The position looks dead equal, but if Kamsky can make some moves, it basically Varuzhin is spotting Kamsky 7.5 minutes to 2:53. That's not easy. Spot a guy like Kamsky. Let's give you 4.5 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about that? Can you beat me still? Even in even positions, you could slip up. And I think Kamsky's going to press him, for sure.
Well, one person who agrees with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley tweeting at us at our hashtag US Chess Champs, Jan Gustafsson. He's also with Chess24. And he says he disagrees with us, even though we're doing a great job. And that he would hate to be white in Akobe and Kamsky.
I hate to be white. I think it's a dead
meanwhile,
draw.
he agrees with Maurice, but Maurice is doing a terrible job.
Oh, very good. Okay.
I made that part up.
So basically what Varuzhin said, wait a minute, your only idea is to bring your king into my position. I'll play the move rook g1, which sets me up for f2, f3. I think the position's a dead draw, by the way. I don't see anything, 0, 0, 0 chances. But if Gata does something really wrong, well, then maybe Akobian will try to play e4.
What about the times, though, Yaz? Of course it's a draw. It's clearly equal, dead equal. But aren't you worried about the clock just a little bit? He's got 2 minutes, and he's still thinking. If it's so easy, why isn't he moving? He spent, so far, 40 seconds on this move alone after king f5. What's going on?
Well, I really don't know what's going on in Var's head about that decision, but I'm just thinking that after f2, f3, keeping black's king at bay, he's making it hard on himself. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
By the way.
Big news, queen trade a decline in Irina Krushchev Abraham.
Oh, wow.
So the tension is going to continue to rise in that game. So queen f2 on the board. Tatev played queen g6. Now she actually has an advantage in the clock. She's got 5 minutes, but it's really gonna be extremely close. Remember, guys, this is very different than the regular time control. No 30-second increment. And I think that both players are maybe forgetting that a little bit here.
I'm truly surprised by Irina's Irina's decision, I beg your pardon, because I really thought that after the queen trade, it's very clear that white's rook was going to come to f5 in case of pawn takes. Rook comes to f5, the other rook comes to f1, and white's got a ready-made initiative on the king side. That wasn't her decision. She played queen f2, attacking the pawn on f7, queen dropped back to g6, defending the pawn, and
now white's played rook on a to d1 to prevent perhaps knight to b3 ideas, getting the knight back into the game and trying to remove that beautiful bishop on d4.
And we have seen knight b3. Indeed.
Knight b3 anyway, and now Irina's played the move at a4.
a4. Well, really, that...
Wait, I'm sorry, rook d8 happened before knight b3. Tata did not play knight b3 immediately.
I beg your pardon.
She played rook on d to e8.
Rook on d to e8, okay, doubling rooks.
And now after a4.
a4, okay,
You
a4.
just really want to get your knight back into the game first.
Yeah, I really do.
Now Tata's played knight b3 and Irina played knight d3.
Right, which I thought was needed for quite some time.
Okay, so this is interesting. Now she thinks that if knight takes d4, that this is going to be a positional error because a knight is eventually... the knight is eventually going to prove to be the better minor piece in the endgame, possibly going to e5 later in the game.
Guys, Akobian is down to 1:19 on his clock. His time is ticking down critically in that position. Should note, Kamsky still has 5:46, lots of time on his clock. Really serious situation now for white in terms of the clock, even though it's clearly a drawn position. There is no question Kamsky's trying to win this game. If he offered a draw, Akobian would stick his hand out right now.
Oh,
no question.
absolutely.
So clearly Kamsky's actually trying to win, but only with this balanced C file. How can he win? I don't know, but he's played the move B5 now. Clearly, that's his only chance. He's trying to see what he can nibble on that side. Still an equal position, but big edge on the clock, gigantic edge on the clock.
And don't forget, 5-second increment, not 30. Do the players realize that? Of course they do mentally, but do they realize it in their bones? Because they've been playing for 2 weeks with the 30-second increment.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Tatev
Hard to-
Abrahamian a little bit ahead on Irina Krush on the clock, and she kept the tension with Rookie 4. And I think that's why you see Tatev being the only one in the championship so far that seems to have a realistic chance against this powerhouse 2 in the championship, because she doesn't play moves like knight takes d4. She keeps the tension. We saw yesterday Victoria Nee amazingly prepared in this tournament, but she just, any chance she had to trade against Irina, she took it.
She did.
You know, and especially in time pressure.
Yeah, and Tatev really fearless with her pawn sacrifice.
Is Marusian really down to 38 seconds?
Well, that's amazing. I just don't understand why he isn't just simply playing G4.
51 seconds, I see. Well, he must have gone down to, I guess he went down to 40-something and then got his 5-second increment.
I just don't understand why he isn't playing G4 and trading pawns on the king side and just get it going. In case of B4, bishop would drop back to D2. In case of rook H8, the bishop would drop back to E1. And come on, this is
easy for us as commentators.
This is nothing.
He's got a 40 grand on the line. He's playing Gata Kamsky. He's never won the title. You've won it 4 times. You know how to handle yourself here. He's super nervous. As easy as it, if you gave him all the time in the world, he knows it's a draw. But he still has to make moves, and you see that he's scared. I mean, he's worried right now with all those seconds ticking down.
B5, A3 is played by Jacobian, but let's please go back to Krush Abrahamian for a second, because
the action
things really are getting exciting there. After rook to E4, Irina Krush played the move C6 because that pawn is, for the moment, taboo with the pawn on F7. So the question now, is this going to be a strong passed pawn, or is Tatev eventually going to be able to capture this pawn and end up turning her sacrifice into a pawn surplus?
Let's
well,
find out.
after take C6, she immediately jumped to it with rook C8, renewing the attack on this pawn, and now Irina, knight before, both defending the pawn on C6 and also hitting that pawn on D5. And now what on earth is going on?
Well, I was about to say, if that knight lands on D5 and on its way to F6, it's over. I mean, knight takes D5, knight F6 is just simply huge. That's just it. So Tatev,
she's in trouble.
She's in trouble.
She must find accurate moves now. She is in big trouble. Irina is unwinding. Remember, she was totally on the defensive. That's gone. She has now taken over the initiative, and we know Tatev Abrahamian does not want to be defending, so it's going to take her more time now to look at the position. Now that her attack is dead, look at those disjointed black pieces. No attack at all. So Irina Krush has imposed her own personality back on the game. She's not defending, she's attacking, and that's not where Tatev Abrahamian wants to be. And psychologically, I think she's in a lot of trouble now. Look how hesitant she is. She's not whipping out moves.
That's right. Both players with 2 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock, and now Tatev dipping beneath Irina for the first time. Not the first time in the game, but the first time in a little while.
Right.
I think she started out the game actually with a little bit less time in the opening.
22 seconds on the clock in the Jacobian game? Is that real?
Weird. But much more exciting position happening in the ladies' event. I'm looking at Queen E6 as almost box.
Box again meaning forced.
You
Queen
can't
E6
allow.
has been played. Irina playing instantly because of course she couldn't have. Actually, Queen F6 instead was the move that Irina played. Also,
And not Queen F5, but Queen
so
F6.
she played Queen F6.
Threatening mate and wand, by the way. Just.
Now Tatev played Knight takes D4.
Okay, hold on. There's a Zwischenzug in the position, Jen. We can capture on G5. We don't have to recapture it once on the D5
and
square.
does that just snag a pawn?
You know I'm a pawn grubber, so I sure.
And Irina's thinking, so I think she's solid. I think maybe Tatev has missed this move.
But
and how is it?
But I don't know. Should I take it?
Best move. Best move. Grab the pawn.
Grab
go up
the
a pawn.
Queen G6. That would force me to trade queens.
She has
and
taken.
She has taken. And
she has taken the pawn.
And
Tatev looks unhappy with this development. I don't think she saw this move. Instead, she played King to F8.
Whoa, that's huge. I think Irina's in boss now. Look at that. Queen takes G5 check, King F8. Don't like that move one single bit. Oh my, I think Tatev way overplayed her hand in this game.
Lost here.
Wow.
Just pawn takes knight on D4. And what compensation does she have? The D5 pawn is toast. Her king is exposed. She's no longer attacking at all. I think the game has completely turned around, and Irina Krush is winning on the board. However, she's still got to make the moves. It's a blitz situation now. Any kind of blunder could happen, but I've seen Irina Krush move super fast. So I couldn't believe her hand speed watching her play blitz. So I think if she resettles herself, you've got to get your mindset right after playing for so long, and then
she played rook takes
go
d4.
quickly.
Which I like, by the way. I
So
like
instead
rook
of pawn
takes
takes
d4.
d4, she played rook takes d4. She is dropped down under a minute, but her position doesn't seem that difficult to play as we see more trades coming on the board, though I do disagree with Maurice in that I think Tatev is the faster player.
No, I didn't think she
Physically?
wasn't faster. She could be. What I'm saying is she's fast enough.
Fast enough.
She's fast
Gotcha.
enough. If she's up and winning, don't think you're going to flag her.
No,
she's
no.
fast enough that if she's winning, but in terms of speed, I think Tatev is faster. I totally agree with you there. But that last move, rook takes d4, was not the best move. According to the engines now, it's not nearly as advantageous for Irina. If a trade happens on d4 and a5, clocking the piece. But she did not do that. She played rook e3.
Rook
Both
takes
plans
e3.
for both,
Wow.
Both players, fans must be absolutely going crazy with both players under a minute, no leeway of a 30-second increment. This is kind of heart-stopping for everyone, even though Irina is winning the game.
She played knight takes
Knight
d5.
takes d5.
Absolutely. With an attack against
Looks
the rook on e3.
crushing.
Well, hold
Rook
on.
e2 played by Tatev,
Rook e2.
trying to create some threats in the position.
Now, we know that when a knight gets to f6, that's usually
Kaput?
kaput.
Is that the
because
opposite?
c7 is killing. If she finds it, she missed it. c7 was winning on the spot.
Instead, she played Yasser's move, knight to f6 check. How is that not good as well?
that looks great.
Bishop to e5. Is that move even possible? Isn't there a knight d7 check in the position?
Irina's definitely got
She's winning
this
this
game
for sure.
under control big time here.
29 seconds for Tatev, 45 seconds. Irina just needs to find some good moves
Hold
here.
on. Why doesn't knight h7 check win on the spot?
It does win on the spot. It's going to be mate if she finds the
King
sequence.
e8, queen g8 check, king e7,
Rook
rook f7
that's
check,
it. That's all she
queen
wrote,
f7,
followed by rook d7.
rook d7 check.
That's
Word
money in
off.
the bank if she finds it.
And
And
that's
Irina
the money.
Krush is spending the time on the critical move. Is she going
she
to
did
find
not
it?
find
She didn't
it.
play
She
knight
hasn't played knight h7. Instead, she played rook to d7.
Oh my, oh my.
And the position is almost equal again.
Because there
Can
are
you
a bunch of
believe it?
trades in the position.
She took the knight
Bishop
died
takes
on f6. The knight died. She missed it. She has only 16 seconds left. And the
Both
Kamsky
players with
game,
less
by the
than
way, is
30
the same
seconds.
thing, guys. The same thing,
Oh
21
wow,
to
look
30
at
seconds.
a lot of moves are being trotted out fast between Irina and Tatev. Oh my.
Both sides have
what-
21 seconds in the Kamsky game, by the way. They're dead even in that game, from what I can tell. Both sides down to now under 30 seconds.
I'm going to switch games for a second. Oh, but it's dead. Dead draw. Come on, nothing to discuss. Let's go back
And
because
queens have come off the board as well, and Irina Krush, Tatev Abrahamian, and now Irina Krush is able to get those two rooks on the 7th, capturing all the pawns.
That's a dead draw
Instead
now.
of
but
playing
now
with
it's
the-
a draw.
Now
Oh,
it's a
no.
dead draw.
Oh no, Irina really spoiled what was a forced winning line with knight takes h7 check. How could she have missed that?
In 40 seconds with 5-second increments? Are you joking?
She took on f7 and the king
A
moved.
lot of players who aren't great blitz players would miss that.
What has
I
happened?
mean, this is not Nakamura.
what has happened after the queen trade?
She took with the front rook, the D rook, and then dropped the rook back to f2.
After king g8, rook f2?
The king g8, rook f2, and rook e4 was played. And
Okay.
now it says white is winning again if she just takes on a7. And she did take on a7. She took
Wow.
on a7 and allowed a check, king g2,
Which check? Rook c1?
rook e1 check,
Okay.
rook e1 check, king g2, rook behind, pawn, and now
two pawns up for white.
two
Irina's
pawns up,
winning.
simple, winning
Yes,
suddenly
Irina now
again.
winning, and she has-
Completely winning, in
And
fact.
she again has a chance to time bank. In this position, she certainly can. Normally, with an increment, it's not so easy.
And what has happened after rook a1, Maurice? Rook d1, rook d2
Rook
was
d2,
played.
rook back to c8,
and
now
rook to d7. Double rooks on the
Dominant
on the 7th.
position.
H5, rook g7 check.
Krush is winning again, incredibly.
H5, rook g7 check has been played, and it's all she wrote. She's going to be 3 pawns up and having a mating attack.
And look at Tatev. Tatev is disgusted. She just shook her head there, and then the last pawn is dropped. She's down 3 pawns. She can only pray, but with that increment, there's no way she should survive this position. Rook takes.
Meanwhile,
rook
the
takes
other
pawn.
game
Yeah,
is a
rook
draw.
Yeah, of course. It was
And rook
dead.
c2 check here. Let's play that
keep-
on the board.
yeah.
Rook to c2, king to h, and now doubled rooks on the rank. And now it's up to her thinking now what to do here.
Well, the simplest, of course, is to give
Give the pawn
rook,
back. She played king g4.
king g4, rook b5.
Not that move. She played king g4 instead, and a check, and she repeated the position.
King
And then
h9.
played rook g5 check.
Yeah.
And repeated checks, king f8, rook f5 check, king g8, and then king to g4. Now ready to block with her rook.
Clever.
She's able to block with her rook in this moment.
Nice.
Looks like she's deciding she doesn't want to block with her rook. King g5 has been played.
Rook check, king g5?
Yes, and rook check, rook c4 check, king g5.
Wow. And she's setting...
And rook takes h2.
Okay. And now Irina looks like she's ready to rope in the victory. Something like rook b5 or
Rook
perhaps...
b5 has been played. Rook c8 on the board.
Rook b5 with the threat of check, mate into rook c8, defending that check. But now Irina can advance her pawn, advance her king, double on the 7th.
King g6 has occurred.
King g6 has occurred with ideas such as rook g7 check in the position. And what has happened
And
then?
Tatev played king to h8, g4, rook to g8 check.
Wow.
Wait a second.
Wait,
What?
rook
What
g4
is
check?
this?
Rook g8 check, king
Rook g8
f5.
check, king f5. Something went wrong here. Is
Something
Irina going to
went
lose one of
very
her
wrong.
pawns?
Oh my goodness.
Something went very wrong. Rook f2 check just happened.
Has it been played?
Rook f2 check did happen. King e6, rook g6 check.
Oh my.
Throwing in a little finesse so that now...
You can't go to the 7th rank because there's a check and the
And
rook
now
is
rook
hanging.
g5 check.
King d5, yes. King d5, rook g5 check, king c6. Looks
Now-
like she's going into the haven of those rooks. But only 8 seconds on her clock. She's going to bank some time again.
Wow.
And now Tatev's going to take that pawn on g4 and...
Well, hold on. There's a rook check on the back rank. All Irina needs to do is trade a pair of rooks, and she will win with her passed A pawn. So I don't think Tatev can capture rook takes g4.
And she's aware of it. She's played rook f6 check, king b7, and now with the king in the way, she's taking on g4. And this is
Clever.
a different ending. This is difficult.
Absolutely, this is a very difficult ending, in fact. And what has
And Irina's was about to make a move. Oh, she has played a move. She played king to a8.
with the same ideas what we've seen before to play rook b8. My goodness, what
And Tatev played king to g8.
king
Irina played
g8?
a5.
Pass pawns must be pushed.
Rook a4.
Rook a4, a6.
Hasn't been played yet. Irina's on move.
Now, a6 drops.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, no,
There's
it
a rook
doesn't. Nice
b8
trick.
check. That's a nice trick.
trick.
a6 has been played. Well,
Nice
Tatev
move.
see it.
Nice move by Irina. With
Pawn
this
cannot be
idea.
touched because of rook b8. Wow.
Yes.
Rook b8, which would force rook f8, and then the rook on a6 would be hanging.
She played rook
And
f8.
she played rook f8. She saw it, rook b8 happen, and now Tatev played rook to b4.
Rook to b4.
Yes, rook-
Okay,
the other
white
rook-
is winning. Rook takes, king takes, just rook b7, a7,
And then you-
and it's over. It's over.
She's grabbed the queen, guys. She's grabbed the queen. She
It's
knows
over.
that it's over.
Wow.
It's over.
So the only try here.
So what has
Queen's
happened
on the
after
board
rook
and she's
b7?
resigned.
Wow.
Irina Kretsch has won the first game of the rapid playoffs here at the U.S. Women's Chess Championship.
Wow.
Tate's friend Alejandra Ramirez trying to console her. There's a big game yet to come. She's going to have another crack at Irina with the white pieces, and after that, anything can happen.
Boy.
That is for sure.
Boy, did she go for Irina in this game. Even with the black pieces, she was fearless. She sacrificed a pawn. She went g5. Everything was going kingside. Irina defended really well and pulled it out in a scramble, but that was mad. And the second game is going to be...
And we will be with you for the second game of this rapid match in just a few minutes. Stay with us. We're here at the U.S. Chess Championships and U.S. Women's Championships in St. Louis. Game 2 of the Rapids coming soon.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, part of the admissions team here at Paul Mitchell School, St. Louis. Our campus is located on Maryland Plaza, right here in the gorgeous Central West End.
I chose Paul Mitchell, the school, St. Louis, because I visited other schools, and when I was at them, I just felt like the energy level wasn't the same. It wasn't as elevated as it is here. When I came here, it just felt right. Everybody looked great. Everybody had such a great attitude. The facility was really clean and just so much more advanced.
Technology can truly enhance your education. When we brought in Chromebooks and we started using the smart TVs, we really tapped into the 21st century learner.
Being a student at Paul Mitchell is great because the learning leaders, they're there to guide you in the right direction. They give you the opportunity to make decisions on your own.
They accept you for who you are, and they're always welcome and honest and open.
We have encouraged our guests to post Google reviews. So far to date, have over 100 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 stars.
So I like that this isn't just for hair and beauty, but it's also a business college. You can learn hair, you can brush it, you can tease it, you can learn all of that, but to do business, that's something that really takes a whole different level of education.
Whether we're in the classroom or at the color bar, we're always having a great time at Paul Mitchell, the school, St. Louis.
Being a student at Paul Mitchell gives you a lot of opportunity for when you're ready to get out into the real world.
Thank you for taking a sneak peek of our campus, and we can't wait for you to come and see what a Paul Mitchell education can do for you.
Be surprised, be intrigued, be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
Welcome to the world of the surreal. You take the blue pawn and return to the comfortable world of chess tournaments as you know them. You take the red pawn and I'll show you a chess event beyond your wildest imagination.
welcome back to the 2014 U.S. Championships and U.S. Women's Championship Playoff. We'd like to take a minute to thank everyone behind the scenes who made this championship possible. The staff at the St. Louis Chess Club and the high-tech equipment provided by Spectrum Studios and Fat Chimp Studios. Amazing job this production team has done. We'd also like to thank Chi-Chi and Joy Bray for the event organization, the House of Staunton for those beautiful chess sets, everyone from the St. Louis Chess Club, Tony Ritchie, Executive Director, Eric, Matt Barrett here, who's helping us with production, Alex Marler and Carol Jarecki, amazing arbiter team, and they had to go into overtime, of course, so thank you to them. We'd also like to thank our web team, Mike Wilmerine, great PR he's been getting for us, and our Fleischman, our PR team as well, who helped get us into USA Today. Thank you, Grandmaster Yasser Sarwan and Grandmaster Maurice Ashley.
And Grandmaster Jennifer Shahadi.
Well, don't forget the people at Leicester's. We've got Grandmasters Robert Hess and Ben Feingold, and they've also been doing commentary at the U.S. Chess Championships for our live audience. The World Chess Hall of Fame has helped us with a bunch of the events, including the amazing reunion concert
With
right?
Paige. Oh,
Exactly.
that was a highlight, absolute highlight.
And Shannon Bailey was instrumental in putting that all together, along with the director of the World Chess Hall of Fame, Larry List, the curator, and the director of the Hall of Fame, Susan Barrett, who's also been lending me some clothes. So
Oh, wonderful.
special shout out to Susan.
And Bill and Dove, the artists themselves, who helped make the show possible.
That's right. Glenn Kino and Cage, and they're coming back for Burning Board, so more kind of excitement on combining art and chess.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And the setup, of course, is that Irina has taken the lead. She'll need to draw, but boy, that came fast and furious at the end. That's time scramble between Irina and Tatev. Boy, my heart was racing, and I'm not even playing in the event, so I just, what they must be going through right now.
Well, we also do have a comment from Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura.
Yes.
And he says that it's such a shame that Tatev Abrahamian didn't know the Vancouver defense from games like Botvinnik Fischer and Rajabov Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the defense with the rook coming to the 6th rank, right?
That's right.
And that kind of makes it so that if the pawn pushes forward, you can bring the rook behind the pawn and reach that end game.
After delivering a whole series of checks, Vancouver was a Czech problem composer from the 1930s who discovered this defense. And by the way, Hikaru played it and used it in one of his games to hold that position that Irina won.
I'd wager that Tatev does know this defense. It's been covered in Dvoretsky in quite some detail, but that she just wasn't able to execute it because of the time situation.
Yeah, the time situation was just on her mind. You got to play moves, and she found the wrong defense.
And that's really why you need to know those types of endgames backwards and forwards, because when you get them, it's not like you're sitting there trying to remember. You really have to just execute it instantly.
Exactly, it should be instinct.
And Nakamura, before that game, actually said that his U.S. Championship predictions were Kamsky and Tatev. But after the game, I think he's probably revising it. But
well,
don't count her out with the white pieces.
But also, he was championing the cause of VAR earlier in the event before they got to the playoffs. Who could have known that VAR would have had this preliminary match that he needed to win? So that was hurtful. But now VAR has the black pieces. We know he's a very, very solid player. Gata is not, I'm not expecting Gata to come out on the opening with big theoretical novelty or anything like that. He just wants a solid position. But then again, you have alerted me. E2, E4 by Kamsky and playing against a French defense and a Caro defense is something he likes. Maurice, your thoughts?
I just wanted to note that a bit of meditation that it seems is a ritual of Kamsky's before every single round. You saw him just close his eyes, breathe deeply for several seconds before finally coming out of it. I'm not sure exactly why he does that. It's something maybe we could ask him if he wins the game, but he seems to do it every single time and is now calm and ready for battle. And I think that Kamsky's got a big edge right now. This last game, he proves he could equalize with ease. He better not get black if there's an Armageddon game, because I don't think Akobian will stand a chance breaking down his wall. So I think he knows right now if he plays solidly, he'll either win or draw, and if they go to the Armageddon game, then VAR better bid low, 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 because Kamsky with black is going to be the Great Wall of China. You're just not going to break that down.
Right, and we've got the women's game as well. Tatev Abrahamian in a must-win situation, so she's going to be hoping to get another exciting Sicilian. No surprises here. She has played a 1E4. I should mention that sometimes we get a chance to mention hashtag US Chess Champs comments, especially if you're Hikaru Nakamura or Jan Gustafsson. But keep them coming. We are repeating the best ones, and we do have chess.com prizes to give out today. Thank you also to our sponsors, chess.com, and to Fleischman Hillard, who's been getting us some great PR during the championship. Now, what is this opening? It doesn't look like it's another Sicilian.
Yes.
Oh, it's the same
It's the
Sicilian.
same thing.
The same Sicilian that they played in their regular game. We're bringing it up. And has Gata played E4 like you predicted, Yasser?
Like
No, he
you
didn't. He played
predicted.
D4 and Bishop F4 already.
The London system that he's that he's used to great effect in this U.S. championships.
A definite practical choice in a rapid game. You can't really blame him for that because VAR is going to have to think a lot earlier than he would have to think if he got, to whip out 15 moves of theory in the French, right?
And he won, guys, by the way. He won this game. He's got to have good memories. He just won against Friedel in the system, the London system. So he's got fresh, good memories in his mind of playing just this line.
Exactly.
Although VAR has played it quite differently.
By the way, after E5, I believe we have a D6 in our game with Tatev, Knight C3, A6. I think I've got the right position on the board, Bishop E7. So different twist to the Sveshnikov with this system, Bishop E7. Well, I guess White can just play the normal line here, Knight C4, and reroute her knight. So the idea behind Knight C4 is obviously Bishop E3 and Knight B6, not only dominating on the D5 square, but also the B6 square. So I don't think B7, B5 has been played by Irina.
It has been played. So after 8 Knight C4, Irina played B5.
Yes.
And now Tatev has played Knight E3 and Knight F6 on the board. And it's interesting to note that both players, perhaps scarred by the heart attack-inducing scramble, are playing a little bit more quickly in the beginning of this game, perhaps trying to save time for later.
Exactly. Very heart-inducing. Okay, so very different twist, because in the normal Sveshnikov, White has a knight, sitting on this rather passive square A3. In this particular situation, White could go for an early knight D5 and hopefully trying to get a position where, after a trade of knights, there's not this knight on A3, this silly square. Another thought that crossed my mind is in this position, there's an interesting pawn sacrifice for White. White could consider a move like A4 here, B4, knight here to D5. And in case of knight takes E4, I kind of like White's compensation here. There's a lot of light squares, but you're usually getting the light squares anyway in this defense. So
I also want to mention that we have a YouTube channel where you can watch replays from the championship, including, I believe we will have up the earlier part that some people missed because of the sound. And we do want to thank Spectrum Studios and everyone here who's made all of those recaps possible.
Right.
Grandmaster Maurice Ashley doing the recaps between the Cardinals games as well.
Exactly.
So it's pretty exciting, all the coverage we've been getting for this event.
And they're all archived.
They will all be archived. I think
Wonderful.
some of them are archived now on the St. Louis Chess Club channel. Remember, that channel has over 17,000 views. I think all of Maurice's recaps already are up on the channel.
Wonderful.
But additionally, if you want to go back and relive some of this excitement and get a little bit more into depth in some of the variations we're looking to, you will be able to do that as well.
And let me just bring up the game in the U.S. Championship. So let's just go a little bit slower from the start. Queen pawn opening by Gata, Bishop F4, C7, C6, E3, Bishop F5. Normally speaking, after we see this move C7, C6, it's a prelude to an early Queen B6, trying to take advantage of the fact that White may have, quote, prematurely developed his bishop on F4 by attacking the pawn on B2. We did not see that. Bishop F5, Knight F3, E6, Bishop E2 has been played. And just, okay, Gata's just saying, you have a solid position, but so do I. So nothing spectacular going on in this game. Let me go back to our ladies' championship.
But that's what Kamsky wants. He wants it to kind of heat up later in the game, doesn't he?
Right.
I see a long bishop move there. It looks like some bishops have been traded. Irina looking pretty comfortable in this game. I think she's feeling confident after her victory last game.
Well, remember, all she needs is a draw. So we saw this developing move, bishop d3, castles, rook b8. Interesting decision, rook b8. Knight jumps to d5, been expecting that for a while. We see a trade of knights, and bishop comes out to g5, and we have the current position on the board. At the moment, I'm looking at the webcam. More moves have been played, Maurice? No? Bishop g5?
There was a trade on c1 that occurred.
Yeah, bishop takes c1 looks like it was played.
So what?
So
a4, c3? Yeah,
c3. And then bishop takes c1 and rook takes c1.
And rook takes c1. And I agree with you. Black looks pretty comfortable here after, for example, a straightforward move, bishop e6, intimating that she's prepared to play bishop takes d5, further reducing the pieces off the board, just a whole vacuuming of pieces going on here.
Yeah, and you know, not those big attacking chances that we saw for Tatev like we did in the last game. Even though those attacking chances didn't end up leading to anything. In fact, Irina got a totally dominating position, and then in time pressure, Tatev managed to wiggle out of it.
Right.
For those of you interested in that Nakamura reference to the Vancouver defense from games like Botvinnik Fischer and Rajabab Nakamura, you can check out JM Shearer 77, who has linked to both games on Chess Games, and he's been one of our most popular tweeters, so shout out to Jason Shearer, and check out those games on that Nakamura, our St. Louis resident, has mentioned.
Yes. So after the move bishop e6, I think we've seen a move by Tatev, but I'm not sure what she played.
A4.
She did play a4. I thought I saw this movement to the queen side, but I wasn't sure if she played b4 or a4. So a4, and now the move rook b8 makes a lot of sense. The pawn on b5 is already defended before it even became a weakness. So let us just see. What do you think? After bishop takes d5, e takes d5, let's say knight e7, not the only move, of course, but knight e7. Can white really expect to have much of an opportunity of winning this game? I wouldn't think so. I would actually think that black is really just doing very well, and Irina's choice seems to have been spot on in this game. So bishop takes d5, e takes d5, knight e7. A trade on b5 is what I'm expecting, and I don't see how white can put any pressure on black's position. Maurice, I'll just ask you, the computer, after these trades that I put on the board, how does it evaluate the situation?
It definitely thinks black is perfectly fine. Black just looks good in that position. I think Irina has equalized and is happy with this position, and somehow Tatev is going to have to come up with some really strong moves. In the other game, just to make that funky, by the way, she has to come up with some creative ideas. In the other game, we see dead, solid, equal position. Kamsky is not going to take any risks. It's so fascinating throughout this whole championship how he's handled himself. He has never chosen a risky line. He's decided he's going to play solid no matter what. He's probably the only player we've seen in no danger in the championship. He didn't lose any games. But if you look at Irina Krush's path to this title, it's been up and down, rocky. She has definitely had some heart-stopping moments just to save herself in this tournament, and then blown a couple of wins. But because of her strong play, or strong enough play, she's found herself in this great situation in the championships. On the other hand, Kamsky's been all about solidity no matter what. His path to victory is to just be a wall, to just be a bear, and say, look, if somebody else wins it, congratulations. He even said during one of our interviews, it's time for a new champion. I bet you he's not saying that right now. He's thinking, it's time for me to keep my title. Number 5 will be sweet. And he's looking to do that right now. And all he has to do is keep to his style, keep to himself. If he wins the game, of course he's in. If he draws the game, it'll be the same thing. no matter what, he says the same thing all the time. I just play the best moves, one move at a time. Guys?
We also have a question coming into U.S. Chess Champs about the production in reference to Garry Kasparov, who Maurice interviewed just a couple rounds ago. And they ask, where is Maurice? Remember how Garry Kasparov said, hey, Maurice, are you in New York? No, actually, Maurice Ashley is right here in St. Louis with us. We've got this in-studio production, which was all set up by Spectrum Studios led by Randy Sinkfield.
Right.
You might recognize the name.
Right.
And we are actually...
The son of Rex and Jeannie, yep.
Yeah, that's right, and we actually see him.
Right, he just Skype and you know I could be anywhere in the world. That's kind of cool that we could do, but nope, I'm happy to be right here in St. Louis. It's been a pleasure being here and working with you guys for sure. The dream team is together again.
Right.
That's right, and Sinkfield Cup, it's coming up.
Right.
Speaking of that name.
Right. Bishop takes g3, h2 takes g3 has been seen in the game between Gata and Varugian. Varugian has an issue to solve for the moment. What is he going to do about the pawn on b7? He doesn't want to see queen takes b7, winning a pawn landing in the position. But on the other hand, can Gata potentially use the open h file? At the moment, the answer is a dead no because of the bishop sitting on f5. But that might be a factor later if we see a lot of trades and even moves like knight h4 and stuff like this. So for the moment, I don't know how he does it, but I prefer Gata's position once more.
You like Gata's white, you like Gata's black.
Well, no, I thought that VAR had Gata cold to rights, dead to rights in their classical game from the tournament. I really thought that VAR was going to win that game. It shocked me, in fact, how easily Gata saved it and didn't seem at all troubled.
You thought he was going to at least press for a while, and you
Well, I
thought
thought
he
he
was
was going to
to
go.
win.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get the knight versus bishop. He could have traded knights at a particular moment. And when VAR allowed Gata to keep a knight on the board, later he admitted that he
should have played for that, but he thought that Gata had some resources.
Yeah, and Gata felt that way as well. And that's just like an awful, ugly, ugly, ugly position in my view to defend, but he did it. In any case, after VAR is offering Gata an opportunity to snap a pawn off the board, knight d7 was played. Oh my. So let us just take a quick look at this. So in the immortal words of my trainer, Nikolai Minev, gift me the pawn.
Are you saying, it's like you're saying like some kind of combination between give and gift? Like
Yes.
Gived.
Gift me the pawn. That's right. So gift me the pawn.
And so you're also hitting on me on c6.
So where you would expect the straightforward rook b8, queen takes. Now we pause because you've got two moves. Well, queen a5 hangs the knight on d7, so you don't have two moves. Pardon me. Rook takes b2, right? I mean, what else?
To discourage me from castling.
Right. Rook takes b2, discouraging castles for a moment. And let's see, is this enough for... It looks... I still am not 100% sure. Let's say... Well, this move knight c3 is bothersome. Let's say I make a move, I don't know, queen a6. So my idea is to play a move like queen a3 as well as stopping queen a5. Black still has to prove this. I'm not 100% sure this is a sound pawn sacrifice. It's very, very familiar pattern in many lines of the Queen's Gambit declined, but I'm an old pawn grubber. I like those pawns. Maurice, am I wrong here?
Queen b8 or something here?
No, queen c7 is a better move. Queen c7, connecting the pieces.
Okay.
So that you can prepare to bring your rook into the game. And now the move c5 is possible. I think you'd want to do that. Yeah, it's very natural.
Right, very natural move.
But then Black could bring his knight around, and suddenly he has some things, still has some pressure on this side. I'm not sure how you would play this, Yaz.
How about knight takes e4?
Right, you could trade knights, and then the other knight shows up on e4.
And then just castles.
Yes, now this position is playable, although after knight c3...
Yep. It all looks very straightforward, Maurice. Rook e1.
Rook to E1. This rook to E1.
Rook on F1 to E1, perhaps, yeah?
And now the move rook takes on E2.
Wow, okay. Rook
Look
takes
at these
E2.
tactics suddenly starting to run. And this tricky one, queen to C8.
Ah, beautiful.
But that's
Love
just a
it.
lost ending.
You're still in this one though.
No, that's lost.
You could
because
trade.
queen c8, knight e2.
Knight E2, king F1.
So we play knight takes g3,
Knight
another little
takes,
in-betweener.
takes, and rook takes. You still have your passed pawn.
But that's
and,
a huge pass pawn.
and
Oh,
a
you're
strong
saying
knight.
a lost end game
So
for black.
For black.
yeah, so black is still got a lot to prove that he can save this position. Although the bishop is very strong on this diagonal. Move F6 is coming with the king coming over.
A very intriguing
Well, Kamsky
line
said
of play.
no thank you to that pawn. I was
He
trying to play
didn't.
queen b8 to threaten queen b4, but
Right.
Gata just said, no, that's okay,
And what did he do
and
instead?
castled instead.
Yeah, there's no reason to risk anything here. He traded and just played castles. I think that makes a lot more sense. That pawn sacrifice is just asking for it in a rapid game. In a rapid game, if you grab a pawn, you must see almost no compensation, no real compensation. Like in the Arena Crush game, you could see that it was like kind of compensation, but a pawn's a pawn in that isolated pawn position. This one is like, wait a minute, why am I donating compensation in a rapid game and I don't see a clear untangling of my pieces and giving the other person chances to get the game going? So I think Kamsky made the practical decision, which is one of the reasons why he was a world rapid champion.
Okay, I'll take the other side of that and say he made the wrong decision, because I'm thinking after queen b6, black has absolutely nothing to worry about. I think after queen b6, black has equalized and dead once again. One of the reasons why I'm thinking it's dead. Normally, white would try to play c5, getting an expansion on the queen side, but then after just grabbing everything, just take everything off the board, take on b3, take on f3, take on f3, play a move like e5 or a6. Maybe I can wait for this move, b4, before playing a6. And after e5, black is just doing great. That wasn't played. I see the players are moving quickly, and I'm curious as to what was played instead. Rook b8 by Var. He didn't play my suggestion of queen b6. I'll beat him up later. Rook b8, knight d2, and bishop drop back, I believe, to g6. And Gata's now still a little bit better.
By the way, guys, something important has happened in the game between Abrahamian and Crush.
All right.
Abrahamian has played the move f4 in this game, and Crush has stopped to think, it seems, for almost 8 minutes, maybe less than that, but she is way behind on the clock. She's at 14 minutes and 26 seconds counting down on the clock times I have here. The move f4, after you and I, Yaz, thought we had seen equality more or less on the board, this move f4 has disturbed her, because this is the kind of move that Abrahamian likes to play. Aggressive, opening lines. She has to do it almost anyway. She's not like a Kamsky who's going to stay solid. But here she's decided it's time to play f4 and see if I can get something going on this side of the board. Despite the fact that her majority is on this side, she's looking to try to get something here, because it's not so easy to break through over here. So f4, looking maybe to play f5, looking maybe to get a pass pawn with takes. Still fine for black, but she has to defend properly, and her time is starting to tick away. She better not let that happen too much. I mean, she's really sat, it looks like she's been there now for at least 8 minutes. She's finally played a move queen b6 check, which we will be responding to instantly for sure with king h1. And back in your court, that is saying white to black, what are you going to do? I am thinking about attacking, and you know I'm dangerous. That's Tatev. That's just the way she is. She loves to attack, and that's what she's doing now.
Agreed. Everything you say makes perfect sense. I don't understand exactly why Irina needed that check. That's a check that I would have kept in reserve. I beg your pardon. I would have played f7, f5, and just said, okay, I'm going to shut off your bishop on d3. No bishop takes h7 check types of sacrifices, no rovers, nothing like that. f5, I'm shutting you down. My intention is to play e5, e4, getting a passed pawn in the position.
Well, can I take and play, what happens if I take and play d6? Because I've got a little
d6.
tricky.
Oh no, I didn't get my beautiful blockade set up.
Yeah, you stopped
d6.
one check, but I still have the c4 square, right?
Darn.
Queen d6, bishop c4 check.
Yes, I have missed it completely. Queen takes d6, bishop c4, discover check, picks up my queen. I didn't get the blockading queen on d6 that I wanted.
And then f5, of course, if you move the knight, f5 hangs, so that's not fun.
Well, I could set up. Okay, let's see what she did, because obviously.
She played queen b6 checking. After king h1, she's still thinking. And now the question is pawn takes e5 and d6 actually a threat? It's not really the same when you're not winning a pawn on f5, right?
Right.
So in that case, it remains to be seen whether the pawn can just be rounded up in another way.
Right. She could play, for example, a move like rook d8, just
stopping it immediately.
These ideas, because obviously in this case, the queen and the rook defend the d6
Although
square.
rook d8 does look like a little big.
Yeah, it's like a funny move, you know.
Because we certainly don't have to take on e5.
Right, but on the other hand, if black is able to get the setup I wanted, which was to play f5 and e4, well,
what if I play, so
maybe
if I
queen
play
b3,
queen h...
oh, sorry, queen h5?
If I play queen h5 here, you just have g6.
G6, that looks like a perfectly reasonable move, sure.
But then maybe I can play...
Queen h6?
I was thinking of, well, if queen g5, I guess you're continuing with f6.
Right. But you could perhaps play queen h4, Jen, and okay,
And
we
I've also
know...
had some rovers.
We know that you got to play for a win, and maybe, you know, sacrificing the pawn and going berserk is what needs to be done. I mean, there's some vague threats of f6, queen h6, rook f3, you said rovers.
Wow, this one's going to be fun, but I don't know. Somehow it doesn't feel like it's quite going to work.
Right.
Because I feel like, for instance, even if you play a consolidating move,
What's a good consolidating move? Knight f4.
Well, I was thinking of knight f4 with the idea that if f6, I mean, like if f6.
Yeah. Or let me play queen h6. I'll tell you what. Let me play queen h6, just so that you don't have any knight h5 issue ideas to cut me off. You know. So obviously, rook takes f4 is on my agenda.
Followed by f6.
Right.
And so I'm going to have to play stuff like d5 to try to keep some lateral defense going on.
Yes.
She's played another move, guys.
Weird.
A surprising one at this moment. She's accepted a slightly worse ending by capturing on d5. This move she's played here, knight takes on d5, allowing the move. Bishop h7 check, king takes. We saw this bishop h7 check happen to Tatev in the earlier game against Zatonsky, and queen takes d5, where white seems to have a little bit, smidgen of pressure here. Maybe not much enough to win this game. It looks like Irina Krush has decided, I'm just playing for a draw. I don't need to win this game. Let me just equalize simply. And the position is almost on the board that we saw. She's taken now on f4, and she's just trying to hoover everything off the board and reach a drawn ending.
Not a bad strategy when all you need is a draw.
Especially if she knows the Vancouver defense.
So we could expect rook takes f4, move like queen c5, queen d3 check. The game goes on, slight advantage to Tatev just because of the pawn structure. More pawn islands in the position for black than for white. Closer to a draw.
Also in the other game, we've seen a pawn thrust as well. We saw f4 by Abrahamian. Now we've seen b4 by Gata Kamsky. He's trying to get space. He does not have any real edge, but he's trying to play for something by expanding on the queen side, and there's some action, guys, on that side of the board.
Meanwhile, we have seen bishop takes h7, king takes h7, queen takes d5, e takes f4, and Tatev does have twice as much time as Irina. 10 minutes and change for Irina. versus almost 20 and counting for Tatev, counting down, of course. We do have a couple comments coming in from IMs listening into the show. Yaz's preference for pawn grabs certainly has been influenced by Victor the Terrible. That's
Yes.
Robert Reese.
Yes, absolutely. Victor Korchnoi, he would walk through the Gobi Desert for a pawn, and big influence on me in my career. And a shout out to Victor Korchnoi in his 80s, and still trying to get back at that chessboard. He still has a lot of vim and vigor. And
Robert Reese from Amsterdam as well, right?
Absolutely.
And we also got a comment from John Bartholomew, and who's been tweeting with us for most of the week, and he says, if I'm Tatev, I'm doing everything as possible to force Irina to make a tough decision early on. So I think he wasn't too fond of her forcing opening line that Irina had clearly already prepared for the regular tournament game.
Right.
And allowed her to make a lot of moves quickly, but
all those
she
trades.
still got into time pressure.
Yes.
But with a lot of simplification, which makes the odds of blundering a lot lower.
Yes, but I thought Irina made a really superb opening choice in hoovering all of these minor pieces off the board. The natural inclination for Tatev is to get tactical positions, and now she's in just a major ending where she's trying to squeeze. Not her forte, but she does have an edge.
By the way, guys, let's not ignore the other game in the championship section between Akobian and Kamsky. Kamsky now has a small edge, and it's his kind of position. He has expanded on this side of the board with the move b4, and now after this trade, he can play the move rook takes d4, preparing to double lines. It's not much. It still looks relatively equal, but small edge for Kamsky, trying to dominate on those dark squares. A knight could land on the d6 square. He could double rooks. This looks like his kind of position, so let's pay attention to that and add to the fact that he has 15 minutes and 33 seconds, and Varuzhin Akobian is down now under 12 minutes. So a small edge for Kamsky again on the clock. This is something that we're going to have to pay real close attention to as this game heats up.
That's right. We do have rook takes d4 in the position, and Gata Kamsky attempting to put a little pressure on Varuzhin Akobian, even though I think he's also comfortable with the possibility that if it doesn't amount to anything, he's going to be a big favorite in that Armageddon match, which he has so much experience in. I think we're more likely to see an Armageddon match in this game than the Irina Crush Abrahamian, and I guess you could call me a math genius, because of course that's a lot more likely,
right?
Because Irina is already ahead, and of course a draw or a win will finish the women's championship and give her her 6th title.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Tatev trying to apply a little bit of pressure in both the clock and the position, honing in on the f7 pawn.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I really do like Gata's position much more than maybe the chess engines. I like the fact that White's minority on the queen side is doing a fabulous job at restraining Black's queen side majority, and I like the fact that White can play all of these moves so easily and naturally. Rook c1 to d1, knight d6, bishop f3, put pressure on b7. And Var has fallen into a difficult position, even though the engines may say, nah, draw, draw, draw.
And Irina has done so too. She's played some weird moves in her game, and Abrahamian has found a nice way to get a little bit of an edge in her game. Look at that. Look at that king. That king side is a bit porous right now. And with the 3 pieces on the open f-file, it looks as though Abrahamian has some chances. Right now, she can play this move. Take a look. The move queen to d3 is possible. Very nice move. Eyeballing this pawn on d6. Eyeballing the square h7. Keeping this diagonal in check. There's a little bit of pressure here. How do you deal with the move rook to h4 in this position? This could be dangerous for her. It looks as though Irina is going to be under a little bit of danger. If this move is found, queen to d3, no way she's losing. Let's not get overboard. But it's going to be unpleasant if she has to deal with this move, especially with the pressure on her clock. So it seems as though one big think right now is needed by Abrahamian, maybe a 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. He can find this nuanced move, queen d3. She might put her opponent under a lot of pressure and change the complexion of this ladies' championship.
Definitely.
Well, giving us a potential Armageddon in both games. If she wins this, of course, we will move to the final games, the Armageddon match, exactly what you saw in the third place matches to determine who, the third versus second, to determine who would play in the finals.
Exactly. So I do like this move, Queen D3, very much. It does all the things you talked about, Maurice, setting up for Rook H4. And I also just like piling up against the D6 pawn, too. Queen D3, excellent move, playing for both Rook F4 to H4, as well as Rook F4 to D4, and going after the D6 pawn. Irina is under a lot of pressure in what looks like a very soft position.
I think that Irina will play, I think Tatev will play Queen D3 because what's the difference with the move order if Tatev is to play Rook H4 first? What's the problem?
Not
because
sure.
I think that Tatev just instinctively is I mean, she's an attacking player. She's got to attack H7 because G7 is really easily guarded, right?
Right.
Rook F7.
Right.
So she's going to either hammer on G7 or H7.
There's no difference, by the way, according to the engines. Rook H4 is a good move, too, so a second move to find here. The only thing is with Queen D3, you do gain a natural idea of also being able to attack the D6 pawn, as Yaz pointed out. So that's the subtlety. Rook H4 is just cave woman chess, is it, Jen?
Yeah, I like that. Play like a girl.
Chess, you get a little bit upset. But clearly she's going after that. Rook H4 is like, I'm looking at your king, dude. That's it. Or I should say, lady.
Do that.
I'm looking at, do that, right? I'm looking after that king, but Queen D3 says, I'm looking for different things at the same time. Rook H4 might come, Rook D4 might come. I have you think about quite a few things. So I think Queen D3, the more sophisticated move, but according to the engines, Rook H4 is actually just as good.
Right. All right. Well, I think Tatev. Yeah, I'm going to go for Rook H4 by Tatev. I think she might play that. She is a very aggressive player, and that's why it's fun to watch her in rapid chess because Zatansky and Crush, of course, have different styles, but I think the styles of Abrahamian and Crush are even more diametrically opposed.
Right.
I mean, not that Crush hasn't pulled off numerous really great attacks. She's also very comfortable with just a slight edge.
Right,
or
more
even
of a positional player.
That's right.
Besides these moves, Rook H4, excellent, Queen D3, excellent. I'm thinking about the move B4.
And she played it.
Oh, did she really? I'm sorry.
You're saying it.
Said it, yeah, that's incredible.
The reason why I'm attracted to the move B4 is because if White's queen ever lands on the D5 square, it will be a dominant lady. And also the move B4 really says, okay, your B5 pawn is going to be a weakness I'm going to attack on the 5th rank as well. If, for example, after B4, just for argument's sake, Queen E5, Rook can come to F5, keeping that queen dancing, and now the weakness of the B5 pawn is made clear after this move's Queen D3. So I'm not saying that B4 was a great move or anything like that.
It's a great move.
But from a tactician's point of view, that would attract my eye.
Queen E5 played by Irina Crush in response. 7 minutes for Irina, twice as much time for Tatev, 15 minutes, she's on move.
Also, I played the move Rook F5 maybe too quickly because also Rook E4 deserves consideration as well. So after Rook E4, Queen D5, I've got this nice little move Rook D1, and I could very, very quickly switch to pawn grubber mode and going after that D6 pawn. So Irina is in trouble against, in my opinion, both Rook F5 and Rook E4. I like White's position suddenly got better and better thanks to those pawn islands.
Much better. And remember the rule, when you have major pieces on the board, the critical thing is king safety, king safety, king safety. That's usually the difference. Add a little pawn weakness like the one on D6, the one on B5, that F6, G7 setup, and now it's all the makings of an advantage for White. White's more coordinated as well. Right at this moment, she has the initiative. I think that White is for choice without question in that position. And I also want to take a look at the game between Akobian and Kamsky where White is for choice here too. White has doubled on the D file. There is no way to trade off these pieces on this D line. If you challenge with a rook in D8 and then capture, the queen can take on this square. So a move like rook to D8 can be made by A3 to protect this pawn, and then you could double queen and rook on this line, and that's going to be a bit problematic for black. By the way, do you remember that moment in Varuzhin's game from earlier that he had against Kamsky when he had White? In that game, he also could have played the move b4, and he also could have put his queen on b2. So it's like a mirror of what could have happened then. Kamsky is doing to him now, and maybe Varuzhin remembers that game somewhere in the back of his mind, a little bit of a ghost variation, if you will. So he's decided to go for it with the move c5. What is this? He has allowed this move in the position, but this looks dangerous. Kamsky now playing the move knight to d6. Kamsky's pieces look tremendous. The black queen also could get trapped or at least be relegated to weird duty. This is a difficult position for black here. White has completely taken over the initiative. I think that black is in big trouble here.
And I do too. And I think that that was the case a few moves ago, in fact. I think that VAR didn't appreciate how precipitously his position had slipped. And now he is in deep trouble because, again, all very natural moves by Gata. Domination of the open file, domination of these queenside majority. White gets to play a4, bishop f3, all kinds of winning endings. And that majority on the king side by White, by the way, is making sure his king is ultra safe and solid. And Varuzhin, big trouble, and also behind on the clock, 12 minutes to 6 minutes.
Twice as much time for Gata Kamsky.
This looks over.
Could be big.
I mean, not the position per se. He's not like, well, the position looks really bad too.
Mm-hmm.
But with the clock situation, it looks over. And you know the thing I'm really worried about is that knight on f6 and that bishop on g6. Mm-hmm. They look like optically good pieces, mm-hmm. but when you stare at them, you say, so where are you guys going? I mean, the bishop is on a nice diagonal, yeah, but you're hitting nothing. White's pieces have gravitated to the dark square, so the bishop is just simply irrelevant. The knight on f6 has no security. Just pick the knight up and find a square for it. There's nowhere for it to go that has any long-term security, so it's frozen. Meantime, White, like you said, yes, can put the bishop on f3, has the knight on d6, the double rooks, and the extra time on the clock, and he's the stronger player. It's going to take a miracle for Akobian to get out of this one.
Now, meanwhile, in Abrahamian's game against Crush, she did play the move rook e4, and then after queen g5, she played this move queen e2, which targets b5, and also perhaps if rook e7, she can play queen e6 check. Mm-hmm. But Irina now counterattacking after queen to e2. So in this position, she played queen e2. Doesn't that look
no, I don't like queen e2
looks
one bit.
Strange to you.
Oh, big time strange. Not just a little bit, big time strange. Actually, I was thinking that queen g5 might be harassed by the move h2, h4. I do very much appreciate what Marisa said about king safety, but the move h2, h4 might have just been able to pursue an initiative kind of making attack going on over there. I don't like queen e2. I would look for something a little bit more crisper. And what has happened after queen e2?
Irina jumping in to get some counterplay with rook bc8.
Just simply saying, okay, I'm going after the c3 pawn. And now, what does
Tatev have in mind? I'm not quite sure. I mean, rook e7 doesn't seem to really lead to much except winning the d6 pawn, right? Because the king can kind of hide.
Maybe she had something like rook g4 and queen e6 checking ideas in mind. Although after queen d5, she covers this diagonal very comfortably with her queen, and this pawn on c3 is hanging. So now some regrets for b4. Some regrets about the move b2b.
She just played that slightly, guys, and it's enough that she's still a little bit better, but it's not quite clear how to impress her will on this position or impose her will on this position. But importantly, while they're battling, we should note this game, only 3 minutes and 30 seconds for Varuzhin Akobian in his game. He is so far behind on the clock now, he's having trouble finding moves. He doesn't know what to do here. His only move is apparently rook to f8. Who wants to do that? But he's looking at the idea of this pawn being taken on b7, which could be done, and there's back rank issues if his rook ever leaves the back row. This looks busted. This, from a practical situation, looks like a dead loss game. I think that you're going to see the U.S. champion keep his championship because it's just so overpowering right now the way he's dominating the position.
Well, Grandmaster Susan Polgar agrees with you. She says, Kamsky in good shape versus Akobian, and Crush should hold versus Abrahamian. Perhaps no new champions again.
No new champions. Defending champions win again.
Well, that
Wow.
is certainly possible, but you just never know in these. You never know in these rapid games, right?
Yeah, crazy things can. I mean, Rook F8, I appreciate the computer maybe saying that's the only move. It's not the move that a human player wants to make.
But
The
he did play it.
He did play it.
Turns out
I
he
mean,
did play it.
you know, I can understand why VAR was really struggling with that decision, because it's just not a decision you want to make, you know, going passive like that. Now, I recommend the move A2, A4, but can I grab this pawn on B7, Maurice?
Yes.
Just snap the pawn and say, okay, I'm a pawn up, do something. In case of Queen C7, my simple idea was Bishop F3, just defend the knight, and I don't know, Rook C1 is next, or maybe Rook B4, I'm a pawn up, and I'm happy man.
It's a pawn, or you don't have to take it. Look at the position. It's huge. I mean, the black queen is the thing I'm actually just eyeballing my position. When I look at this position, I'm thinking, can I trap that queen somehow? Clearly, that's kind of way out there in fantasy land. But with the way the white pieces are so dominant right now, I wouldn't doubt if white just kept playing moves. A move like Bishop F3 instead of grabbing the pawn. Look at the white pieces. It's crazy. There's going to be tricks. And how do you save yourself when you only have a couple of minutes and there are potential tricks everywhere in the game?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's going to be the hardest thing. You're just going to blunder. I mean, you cannot give Kamsky this much time odds and expect to save the game when you're actually worse as well. I'll have bad position, and for compensation, I'll have bad time too. That doesn't work.
Well, Jan Gustafsson actually mentioned a really cute tactic. If instead of the computerish move Rook F8, Varuzhin Akobian played the more natural Rook ED8, that actually Queen takes B7 is a potential move here, with the idea that after Rook takes B7, Knight takes B7. There's no real time to play Rook takes D4 because of Knight takes C5, just winning endgame.
Right.
And probably A6 looks like it's going to hang as well in that line. Meanwhile, ugly stuff on the back rank, many push-ups.
He did grab the pawn, by the way.
That's a pretty one, right?
Yo, it's a
instead,
beauty.
Rook F8, maybe a good defensive move by Varuzhin under massive pressure. And instead, Knight takes B7 in this position, Queen A7 on the board.
Right.
With about 2 minutes left for Varuzhin and over 10 for Gata Kamsky, our defending champion.
Because it wasn't just Knight takes B7, but Bishop takes A6 was Gata's plan as well. So that's why we saw the queen dropping back to A7. Maurice talking about getting your queen into a bad
being
spot.
cowing the queen, perhaps?
Well, the queen on A7 just makes a very poor
Gata
impression.
is very confident here. He's played Rook to B4 quite quickly.
I always thought he was going to.
You thought he was going to play Bishop F3, huh?
Yeah, but okay, Rook B4 definitely breaks the pin on the spot and prepares our knight to retreat either to A5 or D6.
That's just a pawn.
That's just a very good pawn.
The only compensation he has right there, though, is the fact that the extra pawn is the E pawn. Or maybe you might say it's the double G pawn, right? That's the only hope and dream and wish that Akobian has here, that maybe it's not so easy to make this extra majority work on the other side of the board. And if he could somehow calm down the pressure on his pawn on A6, then maybe he'll just might make it out of here alive into some drawish ending. But that's far away in the position. And take a look at this game. It looks as though Tatev has made some strange moves and has given the champion a big chance back in the game. Who could have dreamt that she would coordinate her rook so easily against the one weakness in the position? Her queen is well placed. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with black's position. White has thrown away the advantage that she had on the board. She can only hope now that with only 3.5 minutes left in the game that Crush will not be able to handle herself properly. But White has to be sitting there thinking, what did I do? I had something within those last couple of moves, and I've thrown it away now, and there's nothing to really play for that's so powerful. That pawn on C3 is definitely hanging, and it looks as though Irina is back in business.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely,
right. So
Maurice.
you're saying that she's just going to go for Rook takes C3 after Rook H3?
Okay, so rook h3 setting up for a check, but is that just, does that lead anywhere specifically after rook takes c3?
Right, and you just think that the rook endgames with that with a pretty safe king for black is going to be just really black hitting on b4 and nothing for white. So instead we got to try queen h7, but just
This
king
is
f7 leading to nothing, right?
Right,
Nowhere fast.
Well, the problem is that you don't even get the move rook g3. Black rook on c3 stops any kind of attack. This just looks dreadful, in fact, for white.
Well, maybe Abrahamian just trying to keep ahead of the clock, but perhaps overdoing that and just not getting enough, right? Because she has 3 times as much time as Irina. Now it's quite ticking down. But.
Right. I think she'll come back to this position before she made the move b4 and regret the fact that she didn't play your move, Jen, rook h4 or queen d3, because there's something here for white. There's no question Irina was in trouble here. But when these moves were kicked around, Irina's queen has actually landed on a really good square, queen g5.
Right, queen e2, Yaz, has got to be the culprit.
Right, and this
Didn't
move
look
queen
good
d
and wasn't good, right?
This move queen d3 doesn't look that good to me either. Maybe it was time to make Luft, and after h3, just to be able to play rook f3 and to keep the pawn on c3, because now after queen d3, this move is too easy to find. This is a layup for Irina. Irina's sitting there going, with rook c8, I'm just going to hit the pawn on c3, and I'll play queen versus 2 rooks happily, not going to lose that with black. So after queen d3, Tatya sitting there thinking, well, how can I make it difficult for my opponent? What can I do?
Big development in the other game, guys. The rooks have been traded. The unpin has happened, the unpinning of the knight, and it just looks as though Varuzhin is trying to bring his bishop into the game, but white's pieces are perfect, and now he's headed toward the black king now. I mean, take a look at this.
That's right.
If I can pull this up. I mean, a knight on f5. This knight was on b7 a second ago. Now it's on f5. This queen was sitting over here on b2. Now it's on f4, thinking about queen g5.
Wait, bishop e6 was played. What happened? How does that defend against knight takes g7? It doesn't.
It does not.
The moves were played.
Knight
takes d7, king g7, queen g5.
Bam.
Yeah, he's dead.
Bam,
queen
he's
g5
dead.
check, and it's all over.
And he only has
Gata
15 seconds
Kamsky.
left on his board. Queen takes f6.
Crushing blow. This
We
is
are about to have
over.
a new U.S. Well, not a new U.S. champion. We are about to have
A 3-time repeating champion.
wow, three-peat for Gata Kamsky after an kind of unimpressive for him result in the regular time control.
An indifferent result, but when push comes to shove, he's the man to beat.
He's the rapid guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't vote against Gata Kamsky in rapids. You know.
I believe we have the position after king g8, 2 pawns up, dominating position, simply rook d4, and that's it.
Varuzhin Akobian just looks
like
so dejected again.
What did
this
I do?
Close to the title again, to be destroyed
Denied.
like this. It's going to be dejecting to him. He was leading the tournament at one point. He was playing so beautifully, and then he tripped at the end, losing badly to Shanklin, then drawing a game that he should have beaten Kamsky when he had the chance. Well, not beaten, but had an edge. And then the game against Lenderman, he couldn't do anything. And now, after playing brilliantly in the time pressure in the rapid game, now just falling apart against Gata Kamsky, not able to break through. And Gata knows this is over.
Yeah, he's ready to claim his title. You know, even though a lot of people weren't impressed by Gata in the regular time control, there were a couple highlights. Those games against Friedel and Lenderman.
Especially.
2 players who were really doing great in the tournament. Gata showed his classic style, combining attack, strategy, and quiet moves. Things like f3 against Lenderman, the rerouting of the knight, and the king's Indian attack. It was pretty cool.
Oh, no. When
Gotta get
when
this
it's
type of
time to
position.
perform, I mean, that's what he's about. I mean, he wins the big games, and that's why he's our defending champion, and that's why he's going for a 3-peat. Maurice.
I spoke earlier. Remember I said that he had no troublesome games. The one game that he had trouble in was the one against Akobian.
Yeah.
That was the
That's
one
right.
game where he might have been pushed over. And again, we saw him play similar maneuvers, putting his pawn on b4, queen on b2, the same way Akobian should have. And look at Akobian now, head in hands, He's just shedding pawns. Pawns are dropping from the board.
And what happened
like
in
flies.
Bishop
Abrahamian
d3,
crush?
a5, bishop
And
takes h7, by the way. 3-pawn advantage for Gata. This is over. And let's go to our ladies because...
Well, Abrahamian crush, it looks like somehow Irina has won Irina has lost a pawn. Actually, Tatev ahead a pawn in this position. How did that happen?
Okay, let's just go back. When we left it, we saw the position with queen d3. Rook g3 was played by Tatev. Rook g4, queen takes d6, takes, check. Oh, this is
brutal. It looks like Akobian is about to resign, by the way. Just on the board, move rook d8 check, winning.
And he has won.
Varuzhin Akobian lost his game. Actually, if you want to bring up that final position, a little tactic there. Gata Kamsky, our U.S. champion, yet again, three-peat. So we are going to talk to Gata after this game is over. So let's move right back to the women's championship and see if Tatev can win this game and create an Armageddon.
Oh my goodness. So Irina missed a nice little tactic here. I think she got to this position in her mind's eye and was only seeing the move queen takes g3 and anticipating that she would make a comfortable draw as black. But this move, queen e6 check, rocked her, because after queen takes, her intended rook takes g2 would have lost on the spot to queen h3 check, picking up the rook. That didn't happen, obviously, and after queen takes, she had to move her rook, rook e3, and that's how white has ended up a pawn up. Is it enough? h2, h3 making luft.
Her pawn back. She has won her pawn back.
No, she's a pawn ahead.
She is no longer down.
Well, b5 is going to hang now.
No.
Because queen f5, because what happened is
what
after
happened
h3,
yes.
queen e5,
yes.
queen g4,
queen g4 occurred?
Queen takes c3,
yeah.
And now queen f5 check, king g8.
Right.
Oh, but
because
rook
rook takes
h3 is a draw.
h3.
You cannot touch the b pawn.
That's right.
Show that line, yes.
Absolutely.
Queen takes b5 does not work because that's an instant draw.
A perpetual
and
check
of course,
on the spot.
Irina Krush will be the new women's champion, so that's the...
All she needs is a draw. So let's go back. Why did Tatev could have played queen f5 check and gone into the rook ending up, that's a draw, that's okay. Never mind. So what has happened, pardon me?
So right now...
Queen g4, queen c3.
Now king h7, Tatev realizing, of course, that she can't take on b5 and hand the championship, and she's just going to have to play some other move, but what can she play?
She played queen f5 check.
Queen h5 check and maybe move...
And the king moved to g8, and then she checked her again on d5, and now the king is back on h7.
She's going to have to try to...
Maybe a rover?
And she tried the check again. She played check on f5, and after king g8, dropped her queen back to f2.
Dropped her queen back to f2. Okay, well, that doesn't look like it's going in the right direction. And now Irina Krush just played rook to e5.
Yeah, ultra solid, by the way. Rook to e5, pawn on b4 is hanging.
True, Irina has less than 2 minutes, but again, not much you can create now.
No, she's cruising to a drawn position, and she looks to be keeping her title as well.
So this tournament's all been about threes, hasn't it? We had the three-way playoffs. Now we have a three-peat for Gata Kamsky. Just pretty incredible how this tournament is progressing, and then it's also going to be a three-peat for Irina.
And rook d1, a pawn sacrifice. Rook d1 is going down a pawn. This speculative move has allowed queen takes b4. Black's just up a pawn now. That's just a straight pawn.
She's just, I mean, it's better this than giving her perpetual. That's Tatev's logic. But not enough pieces in the game for there to be cheapos, really.
Exactly. I don't see the CP, the cheapo potential. Rook d8 check, king h7, instantly played, by the way. I thought that deserved a thought, but no, instantly
and the queens are off the board after rook d4, queen e1 check, rook e1 check, king h2, and this.
What happened after king h7? Pardon me.
After king h7, rook d4 by Tatev, but queen e1 check, queen takes e1, rook takes e1, and this is over. I mean,
it's a draw, and that we won't have.
We won't see Armageddon. Indeed, instead we were going to have 2 three-peat U.S. champions in both the women's championship, 3 in a row for Irina Krush, and in the champion 3 in a row for Gata Kamsky.
Absolutely. Tell me what has happened after King H2.
King H2, we have Rook E5, King G3, King G6, King F4, Rook C5.
Oh, sorry.
Look at the way Abramian is
I
moving.
just saw Queen E1 check.
She
What
is just
happened after
moving
Queen
limply.
E1
And
check?
look, they repeated moves and agreed on a draw. Arena Crush is once again the champion, somewhat anticlimactic in a way because they just dominated those games.
That's right. I mean, the two favorites have emerged victorious. And we've got Irina Crush again in the Women's Championship, Gata Kamsky again in the U.S. Chess Championship.
Wow.
Three-way playoffs, 2 3-time in a row champions. And this is the 6th title for Irina Crush.
Wow, a thrilling playoff. What an end to an exhausting 2 weeks, by the way. I mean, it was a lot of work, but boy, that was fun to watch. And as we get our newly crowned U.S. champion set up, thoughts?
An incredibly exciting championship.
Yeah.
Just
so many missed opportunities. I'm sure Alex Lenderman will go back thinking what it could have been, just one little move here or there. Akobian VAR, a great, great tournament for him. He had it within his grasp after going 4-0 on a really nice run. Ran into Sam Shanklin.
That's right. Sam Shanklin played some really nice games in this tournament. And here he is, the U.S. champion 3 times in a row. We've got Gata Kamsky dominating in the rapid portion of this event, right? I mean,
Clear. Just clear.
Very comfortable game with black, even on the plus side of that. Always ahead on the clock. I don't think he was behind on the clock at any moment, really.
No.
Just very solid. And here he is. He's with Maurice Ashley.
With the this year's U.S. champ, not the new, but the old is once again new U.S. champion, Gata Kamsky. First of all, Gata, congratulations on defending your title.
Thank you.
You now have 5 U.S. championship titles. How does that feel when you go back and look at your career? Well, it's still a career to go. What does 5 sound like to you?
It's going to look good on the resume for sure. Okay. No, it feels great, of course, but I didn't expect to win this year because, I mean, you guys saw how I played. I was behind all the time, behind the leaders, sometimes even 1 point behind, so I didn't think it was really possible. But then, and yesterday against Akobian, he missed a win against Lenderman, and it was basically 1 or 2 moves, and he had the superior position. And again, the nerves probably, they played their role, and we got to the playoffs, and in playoffs anything can happen.
Indeed, you have been here before. You played Rapid. You've been World Rapid Champion. In fact, do you feel that that was really important in this playoffs?
Well, I feel that that certainly gave me an extra edge because I have that huge experience playing Rapids, and it feels comfortable to play here. So, and of course, I can see that both Lenderman and Akobian, they were really nervous playing their Rapid games, and that tells you that when you're comfortable, when you have a lot of experience playing the games, then you know what to do. So that helped.
Is it just experience, you think, or do you have a strategy when you're playing Rapids? Is it about moving quickly or playing your type of positions? What's the secret?
It is both. You know exactly what works for you because you played there, you already made all the mistakes that you could have made. And so now you know what to do. Just play solid, try not to blunder anything, and stay ahead on time. That's the main ingredients, of course. And of course, the thing is, to get a comfortable position, sure. So you know what to do, so you have some moves. That's important.
Did you think at all about a moment in the game when you had a pawn on b4 and a queen on b2 that he had that on you in your matchup, individual matchup in the championships, and maybe psychologically he'd feel pressure at that moment?
No, but those kind of structures are always nice to play with white because I play them with black all the time. And I knew that that is a very unpleasant position to be faced with. So I understand why he played c5, which I consider probably a losing move because after that I just get that pawn on b7 immediately, and then just, if he could have just stayed and played and defended, probably it would have been a draw, but it's an unpleasant task.
You corrected us and said that you're the 2-time back-to-back champion that Nakamura won 3 years ago.
Right.
What's next for you? You've won this title. We've heard some rumors of retirement. you still seem to be, well, you're definitely one of the top players in the world, top 50. You're still 2,700. What's your plans for the near and distant future?
Well, right now I'm going to celebrate this with my fiancée. She's here. She's been supporting me the whole tournament, and she's been standing, like, watching my games in the playoffs. So I'm very grateful for her presence, of course. And then we're just going to celebrate this victory, and then probably play a national open in Las Vegas later this year. And then I have no idea. Just going to see what happens.
No idea. You've won the title. It's 5 times. Your name is etched in the history of these championships. Gata, congratulations on a deserving championship.
Thank you.
Grandmaster Gata Kamsky, the 5-time U.S. champion, this year's 2014 champion, once again showing that he is a force to be contended with at this tournament. Guys?
So Gata was wrong. He said it's time for a new champion this year.
That is true. And our congratulations, of course, to Gata for a very impressive victory, playing well when it really counted, and he did. He just played very good chess when all the marbles were at stake.
That's right. I mean, and you just can't argue with his rapid skills. I think
it's that clear.
His difference in rapid skill is just a massive, massive edge and a really tough task for both Lenderman and Jacobian. I think Ramirez got closer last year.
Well,
that
again,
was a lot closer.
For sure it was.
We had to play Gata.
That's the point. Yeah. I'm not sure I really liked. Okay, the playoffs were known in advance. I mean, everybody had a contract. They knew the rules. Nobody really perceived. It is a big edge. If you have to play a preliminary Armageddon, and you're nervous, and you just wasted a lot of nervous energy getting through to the final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it also was made more tough because coincidentally, well, not completely coincidentally, but as it happened, the people who were also the best players got into the final. So that made a massive difference. Yeah.
It's true. So I appreciate all the innovations and all the ideas that have been tried here at the St. Louis Chess Club for the U.S. Championships.
Amazing, and I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how in the future.
We
continue to make them.
I'd call for a rethink on a playoff of 3 players. I'd call for a rethink of what happened this year. It's too big an edge.
And we've got Tatev Abrahamian getting set up for an interview with Maurice Ashley, so she'll talk about that struggle against Irina Krush, and that was really a nail-biter. Yeah. Well, the first game especially, obviously the pressure was really on with Tatev in the second game.
It's true. On the other hand, I really thought that when Irina won against Anna Satansky, that she had deserved the title, so to speak, because she had beaten her main rivals. But, just the way the format, she needed to play very well today against Tatev.
And here she is, and her hair matches my dress, or my dress matches her hair. Tatev Abrahamian, a fantastic result here. She's with Maurice Ashley.
Well, purple is the color of the day. Well, Tatev, today was a tough day. I mean, you had to play against Anna Zatonsky, a 4-time champion, and then have to defeat a 5-time champion. How difficult is that? 9 championships that you have to hurdle over to win your first title.
Apparently impossible. Well, the first game Anya played very aggressively, which she usually doesn't do, and I think I got a really bad position, but she must have misplayed something, so things went my way. And against Irina, the first game I played overly aggressive. I'm not sure why, maybe because after my game versus Anna was so intense or so crazy. So I just started playing too aggressive, and at some point I just kind of thought to myself, why am I being so aggressive? I'm playing black if I try to find a result. But I mean, I think I was fine, just kind of blundered at the end, all the pawns.
This format, Yasser was saying, is really hard on the person who has to play that first game. Did you feel fatigue or nerves creep in after that first game to have to play 2 games right after that?
Well, I mean, of course it's tougher to play more games. So.
But did it affect you? Did you feel it affect you, or did you feel like you were, being able to play a fresh game in the next 2 games? Were you able to put that first game out your mind and just play chess?
I mean, it's just more, even if you don't feel it, or if you think you don't feel it, I think it's still tiring to have to play an extra game. And that game was different time control, and you're playing different time control, so it's really hard to adjust.
Indeed, you have come close before. I mean, we had a joke early that this was a 2.5 horse race. You've proven to be more than just half a horse.
Three-quarters.
I mean, 3/4 of a horse. What does it take to beat these ladies? I mean, you've come this close now, at least twice.
I told you I'll tell you if I win, but I didn't win, so I don't have an answer. I don't know. Like, I think her nerves were really good because I thought in the second position when she went F6, I was just kind of really taken aback because it's a really weakening move, and she just kept holding her position, and I just wasn't able to create anything, and she spent so much time too. So I thought, like things were really going my way. I liked my position. I had a lot of time, and then I just wasn't able to create anything.
Indeed, you did have an edge on the clock, and your position to us looked really good as well. What's the difference? What makes Irina Krush who she is? I mean, I know you don't necessarily want to study her too much, but you have studied her more than most people have. What's the difference in her play that puts her at the level she's on?
On her play and
in her play, just in general, why she wins all these championships. This is her 6th championship. What's the reason for that?
Well, I mean, she's a good player, but I mean, if you take the U.S. Championship field, especially in the previous years, I mean, it was just her and Anya. They were so ahead of the field, so I don't think it's that surprising to see her and Anya just keep winning it interchangeably, basically. But, well, I mean, she's been studying for so long and playing for so long. Of course, she has a lot of experience, so I think all that comes into play. And of course, she's a good player. She's 2,500. She's a GM.
Indeed. You're finished now with this championship. Do you have any plans for the future? Have you thought about what's next for you?
Chess-wise?
Yes.
Well, I think I'll play in Las Vegas, and I was thinking maybe some other tournament, but I think I'll do some event Politican before the Olympiad and just the Olympiad. So Olympiad is going to be my next main tournament.
So you'll be representing the U.S. team, the U.S. women's team. We certainly wish you best of luck there, and congratulations on a fine finish. We know you almost came close, but we have confidence you'll get it in the future years.
Thank you.
Tatev Abrahamian, after another tough battle fighting for the championship, she's very close, but certainly acquitted herself well here at the Ladies' Championships. Guys?
It was a great Ladies' Championships. I enjoyed the battles very much, and I thought that following the games day after day after day, it oftentimes felt to me like we saw more excitement in the ladies, so it was great to have them playing alongside, right?
You see that a lot of years, although this year I actually think the championship really rivaled it in terms of the decisive games were just outstanding in the championship. And what was interesting about the women's championship was just this massive drama in the last round with Nemkova and Nee fighting so admirably against their opponents. And of course, actually, Nee almost
dethroning our defending champion, absolutely.
And Nemkova too.
And Nemkova as well.
And the end is resulting in draws and allowing for this three-way playoff. That was just incredible.
Wild.
Really unbelievable situation. And here she is, Irina Krush, now a 6-time U.S. women's chess champion. She's with Maurice Ashley.
Indeed, with Grandmaster Irina Krush. Irina, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, Maurice.
How does it feel? 6 times. That's a big number.
It's a big number. You know, often in the last year when people were introducing me, they would say by mistake on the 6th-time U.S. women's champion, I would correct them, but I thought maybe they're not making this mistake by accident. So, but of course, during the course of this event, my victory seemed very far. So I think this is, it feels like, you know, I really pulled victory out of, you know, well, what's the expression, Maurice? There you go, just the jaws of defeat. There you go. Because, yeah, so I think from that point of view, this was the hardest championship I've ever played because the other ones I've won either, well, I was never coming from behind. You know, maybe like half a point was the maximum, which at some point I might have been trailing Anna. But here, you know, the middle of the tournaments obviously just got away from me. You know, I mean, I made so many draws in this tournament. I did not convert several winning positions. So it's my worst result here since 2009. You know, my worst result ever, I think, except like 2009. So.
You still managed to pull it off, even after all that. What did it take to pull it off, you think, this time around?
Well, I guess the first thing, I think I mentioned it to you, is that when I play these big events and I know how much people root for me. The first thing is that I don't play like for myself, you know, or for my own glory. The first thing is that, you know, when I see how much like my coach puts into preparing me, and, you know, doesn't sleep nights, you know, while he's preparing me and Alex, you know, obviously I feel a big sense of responsibility towards him.
Your coach, Georgi Kakishvili, Grandmaster.
Are you going to get his name right one of these days?
Did I get it wrong again? Kakishvili, Hakishvili?
Kachishvili.
Kachishvili.
There you go.
I got it right one time.
Yeah. So that's something that's very important to me, to do well for the people who have invested their time and efforts into me. And I think, you know, the hardest thing for me in this tournament was at some point I really just didn't feel any faith or confidence that I could win. Yeah. I mean, like that middle of the tournament when I got 1 point behind Anna, and as I mentioned before, you know, I wasn't feeling that well, didn't feel a lot of energy, and I just thought, well, why would this be the tournament I win? I mean, I'm a point behind, I'm not playing that well, you know, what am I going to do to change this course of events? And it was very hard for me to really feel confident. And you know, one of my favorite passages in the gospel, it's when a man who was talking to Jesus, you know, he said, "Help my unbelief." You know, so he says, "I believe, help my unbelief," like simultaneously. You know, and that was my whole the kind of thoughts that I had in my mind through this whole tournament. I always asked for help to have the faith that I could do it.
Indeed, even after 5 championships, you managed to defeat Anna Zatonski in your head-to-head battle. I mean, that was a tremendous fight that went down to the wire as well. Did you feel after you defeated her that this was now the ship back on course and that you had the title back in your hands?
Yeah, when you said the ship back on course, at first I thought you said something else, Maurice, and I was like, yeah.
No, I did say ship back on course.
Change one letter there, and that's exactly what I thought.
That's what you were feeling.
Yeah. Well, yes, I did think that after the game with Anna, I mean, I started to feel better physically. Obviously, gave me a big energy boost, that victory, you know, just a psychological boost. You know, my coach actually arrived that day into St. Louis, Saturday night, so that was some extra energy for me. And, but you know, I had so many setbacks in this tournament. Just really was like setback after setback. I mean, even in the last round, my winning position, I managed to have to defend, you know, turn a winning position into one where I actually was close to losing. Although, to be honest, I was playing for the win until almost the very end. So I think maybe that helped me a little bit. You know, my opponent would probably feel that maybe she wasn't that confident that she was so much better because I was still trying to win. But yeah, and yesterday I was just so deflated. That was just my overall feeling, that winning position, didn't make anything of it. So yesterday I felt deflated. I was probably very bad company at dinner, just kind of staring into my cell phone when I went out with Georgie and Alex. But you know, somehow, you know, chess teaches you to be a fighter. And I've been in these situations a lot before. And somehow, when your back is pressed against the wall, you know, you've got to show what you're made of. So, no, I thank God that, you know, He gave me the capacity to suffer, because suffering makes you stronger. So.
Well, there you go. Well, you certainly have proven yourself here. 6 championships is nothing to sneeze at, and will go down in the annals of these tournaments. You'll go down as a great champion. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you. Can I say congratulations also to Gata, our U.S. champion, and I am very happy for Brooklyn today.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Our 6-time champion, that's a huge number. Grandmaster Irina Krush, a deserving victory on her part. She is at the top of the U.S. chess.
Can I just say one last thing, Maurice?
Yes.
I just forgot to say actually that Tatev played very well.
She
you
did.
know, and we had a very hard-fought match. You know, I mean, it was very close in both games.
Indeed, giving credit to her as well. She'll be coming back again for sure. And you guys will be playing on the Olympic team together quite soon. So once again, friends rooting for each other. But the battle goes to the champion. Once again, Irina Krush is the ladies' champion for 2014. Guys?
Chess teaches you a lot. Chess teaches you to persevere, to fight to the end and to suffer. Quite a message from our new and reigning 2014 U.S. Women's Champion.
Well, what a couple of weeks it's been, huh?
It has. And Jennifer, let me get that in as well. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
Been
and
so
Maurice,
awesome
too.
Working with Grandmasters Maurice Astley and Yasser Sarawan these last couple weeks. And of course, again, with Fatchim Studios,
Yes.
Spectrum Studios.
All the good
and
people.
the crews of both of those. I mean, it's just been so much fun.
Yes, it has.
Final word from Maurice Astley.
Indeed, Jen, this was a pleasure working with you guys again. It was so much fun. Feels like the dream team, like I said, the chemistry is wonderful. The championships were awesome. This year, more than ever, I watched quite a few of these championships, but this one went right down to the wire. The champions showed their mettle. It's what it's all about, just fighting chess. It may not have been the most perfect chess, the most pristine chess, but you don't need that. You need fighting, fun chess, chess that keeps the audiences entertained on the edges of their seat, and we saw that time and time again here in these championships. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this event. What a great job they do here at the Chess Club. Of course, the sound guys, the TV crew, everybody, Fatchim, everyone here. It's just such a classy place. If you have not been to St. Louis, you're missing something on the chess scene. You've got to visit one of these days, and I'm glad I get to visit quite a bit. So thanks so much, guys, and see you next year. Or see you at the Sinkfield Cup.
Yeah, that's right. The Sinkfield Cup, named after the founders here of the St. Louis Chess Club, Rex and Jeannie Sinkfield. We absolutely can't wait for that. And that's coming up really soon.
Right.
Just in August. So book your plane tickets. And again, congratulations to our winner of the U.S. Chess Championship, Gata Kamsky. He's going to take home $45,000. Beautiful performance. Really won when it counted. And Irina Krush taking home $20,000 for her three-peat performance here at the Women's Chess Championship. Thank you all from all over the world for joining us. We expect you back in a couple months. Don't forget there's also the Junior Championship, so you're going to be able to watch that here as well.
Exactly.
And the Sinkfield Cup starting on August 26th. We thank everyone for listening to us. Yasser, do you have any final words?
Thank you to the audience, of course, as well. And also, do keep in mind that the St. Louis Chess Club itself is an educational entity, foundation. All contributions, all donations, tax deductible, and we just hope that you will support the club and make it your favorite charity, as it is mine.
That's right, the World Chess Hall of Fame. Join both of the organizations. Start with that. Come over and check out what's going on in these wonderful institutions. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's been amazing. See you in a couple of months for the Sinkfield Cup and more action.